Hello everyone, I'm Tommy with Studio Sense. 22 years ago, due to the efforts of perfumist Manfrotto, a timeless classic was launched back in 1998, and that is Boss Bottled, or what some sites refer to as number 6. All that means is it's 6th in line. So you ever come across a fragrance called Boss Bottled or a fragrance called number 6, it's the same exact thing. The original godfather of Hugo Boss fragrance. Boss Bottled number 6. So the question is it a timeless classic to you? We'll answer that question and more coming up, so stay tuned. Welcome back, guys. Really excited to discuss something that in my mind is one of the best representatives of a feel-good fragrance that still gives you that charismatic boost that we're all looking for in a very masculine men's fragrance. So for any fragrance to be around for 22 years, there's got to be something to it. And with Boss Bottled, it is kind of a love-hate relationship, but wherever you fall on that scale of love or hate, or if it galvanizes you, you can't deny that it's had an impact on the fragrance community. Some say that it's the best fragrance that the house Hugo Boss has ever produced, and while that still remains to be seen, I don't wholeheartedly disagree and I don't wholeheartedly agree. I fall somewhere in between there because I love it. I do. I really, really like it. But you can't say that it's not had an influence or an impact on a lot of fragrances. In fact, a lot of people say that it smells very similar to like Chanel Egoist, Lacoste Pour Homme, Esprit Mondaine, La Rue Grave Point, just to name a few, Ferrari Black, some people say. And while it may have influenced a lot of fragrances, it still stands to this day on its own as a timeless classic, at least in my book. To my nose, it still smells as fresh and unique as it did when I first tried it some 15 years ago. When I first smelled this, it felt like that it unlocked some kind of potential. Have you ever heard that mostly inaccurate saying that we only use a certain percentage of our gray matter of our brain? When I first smelled this, when I first wore it, it felt like I unlocked that potential of the cerebral mass that I wasn't using. It allowed me to see things from a different point of view. It allowed me to look at things from multiple angles at the same time. It became my fragrance unlimited. If you ever saw the movie Unlimited, I think there was even a series, Unlimited, didn't do that great. At any rate, it felt like not only when I put this on, it was like a confidence booster. It felt like that I could be a better me, that I could search for and find that better way and that better day. What better quality or feeling can come from wearing a fragrance like that? That's my neuro association with Boss Bottled. So it's a very positive, a very good, feel-good kind of charismatic boost and feedback from this fragrance. And to me, that's one of the reasons that it will always stand as a timeless classic, because when I put my nose to, and this isn't the first bottle that I've owned, and I decided to get the 200 ml bottle. It's a fantastic, fantastic deal. To me, that's a steal for a nostalgic classic like this. What are some of the earmarks of something that is timeless? Something that's timeless, it means that each time that you put it on, you're not just getting that nostalgic rush, because that nostalgic rush only lasts for a little bit of time, right? And when you wear this, you're wearing it out amongst other people that may be wearing more modern, quote unquote, modern fragrances, and it's got to still stand up to the test of time. So still get compliments off of Boss Bottled, still get compliments to this day. It's one of my top 10 most complimented fragrances. To a large part of that is how old it is, how many times I've worn it, how many times people have smelled it on me and complimented me. So statistically, it's as a result of wearing it more frequently maybe than other fragrances. But as a whole, that factors into it being the timeless classic that it is. Gonna go in and get into the box really, really quick. Paper off. Top of the box, of course, you've got Boss Hugo Boss. On the sides, you don't have anything. On the very bottom, you've got your batch code, it's a simple one, 9233, as well as the SKU or the barcode. And on the front, Hugo Boss Bottled, right? And on the very back, it breaks down the notes. It simplifies the note profile because there's a lot more notes in this. If you remember older fragrances, it's almost like they tried to jam everything into them but the kitchen sink. And it was almost like more is less. And in a way, that's kind of true with the way this Manfrotto created this fragrance. It has so many fragrant notes in it, but really when you smell it and experience it, the scent profile is relatively simplistic. The results are very much wholesome apple pie. It's almost like an apple strudel or apple pie because you've got that apple in there, you've got the cinnamon, so it is slightly gourmand, slightly sweet, and because of that it makes you think of home-baked goods, it makes you think of Christmas time a lot of times. And for a lot of people, because it was such a popular fragrance down through the years, it makes them think of maybe walking through the hallways of their university because it was something that a lot of young men wore back in the day. It's all you used to smell for a period of time when it came out, certainly after 1998. So it has all of those really good nostalgic values and integers built into it. And then here we are in our modern day, 2020, busting it out of the box and still smelling it. So they've just broken down the notes into a basic top notes, apple. There's more in there obviously. Heart notes, geranium, cinnamon, and base notes, sensual, woody notes. We're gonna go into a little bit more detail and tell you, what's in this, but let's go ahead and get the bottle out and take a look, and we'll take a smell as well. As with any Hugo Box fragrance, the box is relatively simple and the bottle format is very, very familiar. So you've got your giant 200 ml bottle. This is a blunt force trauma weapon. You could do some Van damage with this bottle, but there's not a lot to the bottle. The typical lid, okay, and the typical Hugo Boss atomizer. And on the very bottom is, and I'll put it close enough to hopefully the focus focuses in for you to get the batch code and the 6.7 ounces, which is 200 ml. A lot of people have made the wet blanket statement, this smells like apple pie, and I'll give you that. Right off the bat, it does smell very apple cinnamony, but as the layers begin to dry down, because there's a lot in here, there's a lot of fragrance notes in here. Let's give that 3 pump prime. I'm gonna give a good bit of juice on this. There it is. There is that Hugo Boss DNA. This is the most influential, if not the most, in the top 2 or 3 most influential fragrances of Hugo Boss. This DNA and this scent profile is in literally every single bottle of Hugo Boss ever created, with few exceptions. Maybe not Hugo Boss Night or Boss Bottled Night or Boss Bottled United, or less so on Boss Bottled Tonic, but they all have kind of that cashmerean, cinnamony, spicy, appley kind of vague overtones and sometimes specific notes in them, so that it's very, very, very familiar. And this is very much that pillar fragrance that spawned all of the flankers, really. So it smells so crisp and so clean, and I really like Anique Minardo's previous creations. She's been involved in a lot of fragrances that have done really, really well, and ones that to my nose are fantastic, and this is no less a fine creation that, because it is so old, a timeless classic. 22 years in a bottle. That's saying a lot. For a fragrance to still be flying off the shelves, or at least in my estimation, flying off the shelves, still moving, it's still out there, still being produced, 22 years later, that's saying a lot. And this stands that test of time. And that's why it is a timeless classic and is what it is. I'm gonna spray it on skin now. Really good there. It's featuring notes such as apple, plum, bergamot, lemon, and other citrusy fruits, while paving the way for other featured notes such as clove, mahogany, cinnamon, geranium, and yes, oak moss. This was 1998. Oak moss was in almost virtually all of men's fragrance up to that point, but the oak moss in this adds a little bit of earthiness to it, the kind of the same earthiness that patchouli adds to modern fragrances today, but it's not overdone. So it adds just enough of that earthiness in there without it being oak mossy and barbershoppy feeling to it. So this completely avoids any sensation or feeling of a dated barbershop fragrance at all. And that's what makes it a timeless classic, because it doesn't feel like something that was created 22 years ago. This could roll off the shelf today and be like, wow, yeah, that's like apple pie. It's spicy, kind of semi-Christmassy, kind of a holiday feel to it. Slight potpourri feel to it in the way that Spice Bomb or Spice Bomb Extreme has a slight potpourri feel to it, without going away from that modern man's fresh, masculine, charismatic fragrance. That oak moss is also mediated by the balance of other fragrance notes like olive tree, sandalwood, cedar, vetiver, and even vanilla. So there's a ton of notes in here, everything as it were but the kitchen sink, but the results are very, very simplistic and amazing in my estimation. For all of these notes to work together to come into a lightly sweet, lightly gourmand, yet still very modern, masculine, sexy, slightly alluring fragrance. And that's what's awesome about this is one of those few fragrances that I consider to be all season, all occasion. While it may be best suited for fall or autumn or slightly colder weather, and even like colder weather in spring and even early summer, so those time frames it may be best suited for, you can still wear this all year round and in every occasion, daytime, nighttime, casual wear. You can even dress this up, and yes, because of the spices in it, it's still even a kind of a slightly enticing, alluring fragrance for women to smell on men. Therefore, it is a great date night fragrance as well. So there isn't really an occasion that you can't wear this for, and to me that again is another earmark of a timeless classic. When it stands the test of time, and it stands the test of seasons and the test of occasions. I guess that's three things, right? So those three things, that just judging it by that three criteria alone makes it a timeless classic in my book. Also, there are a few fragrances in my rotation that I don't really care about the projection and longevity, and this is one of them. So what is the longevity of Hugo Boss Bottled or Hugo Boss number 6? Again, it's one and the same. What is the projection? What is the sillage trail? I don't know. I don't really care. I guess if I had to give that to you, if I had to make a blanket statement about the way that it performed, it would be, it's around average. I would say it's around average, slightly average in terms of projection, maybe average to slightly below average in terms of longevity. And the median that we're giving that is approximate 8-hour workday. That's the median or the litmus that we're testing against what the average is in terms of longevity and projection. But again, there are certain fragrances you may have in your collection that it's a personal wear. When I wear this, I don't wear it for a situation. I don't wear it for a season or a person around me. I wear it for me because of my, again, neuro associations, my memories, that nostalgic factor, along with the fact that it is a timeless classic. And if someone smells this on me, they're usually like, that smells so familiar. I really like that. And then you can say, yeah, it should smell familiar. It came out 22 years ago. It's Hugo Boss Bottled. And they're like, oh man, they either know someone that wore it or they wore it themselves. So those are really good. It's a conversation piece. It's a timeless classic. It's still modern by today's standards. And it's still, again, possibly the best, if not the best, Hugo Boss fragrance that Hugo Boss has ever rolled off the conveyor belts. And with the price of it, the fact that it's still so economical and it's a cheap grab, a dumb grab, an easy buy, that again makes it, almost dropped it. That is another positive in my book, and again, earmarks of a classic, of a timeless classic. I would highly recommend it if you don't have it. For some reason, it flew under your radar, your fragrance radar. Try out a sample. If you don't like some of the notes that I mentioned, if you don't like, anything with apple in it and cinnamon in it and it's spicy and it's kind of like a semi-holiday feel to it. If you don't like Spice Bomb or Spice Bomb Extreme, you're probably not gonna like this. But if you do like fragrances that are very spicy and that have that apple and cinnamon work so well together that make it semi-gourmand and slightly sweet, although this isn't super sweet at all. That's the last thing that it is. That's what really makes it hyper versatile. This is another fragrance that I would term hyper versatile to wear because it fits every situation, every season, can be worn at any time for any reason. Thank you so much for checking out my nostalgic, timeless, classic review of Hugo Boss number 6 or Hugo Boss Bottled. It is a fantastic fragrance. I'm super happy to bring it to you today and do a quick unboxing. If you'd like to share your experiences with Hugo Boss, if you have any specific nostalgic memories or circumstance or experience that you'd like to share, please do so in the comments below. Your comments are always welcome and appreciated on my channel. As always, thank you so much for your support and your time and stopping by. I'm Tommy with Studio Sense, and I'll see you next time.